Just like you have physical habits, you also have mental habits. The way you think is just a habit. But what I realized was that I needed to change the way I was thinking about basketball if I wanted to reach my aspirations, if I wanted to be who I wanted to be. And what I quickly realized is just like you have physical habits, you also have mental habits. The way you think is just a habit. And think about how hard it's been for some of you guys this week to change your physical habits, especially you guys that are accustomed to going off one foot and playing fast and out of control, or leaping to pass is another one. A lot of times you have that habit. It's a really difficult habit to break. You can't break it in 2 or 3 days. You have to continue to practice and replace it with a different habit. Well, the way you think right now is a habit that you've been training yourself to do for some of you 20, 21, 22, 23 years. So I realized I wasn't going to just change those habits overnight. They were deeply ingrained. But the good news is they were just habits. And I knew if it was a habit, I could replace it with a better habit. Just like I could replace going off one foot with stopping under control on 2 feet. And so I can honestly say that once I realized that I needed to start taking responsibility for where I was putting my attention and that no one else was going to do it for me, I can honestly say that for the next 2.5 years, I worked harder and was more disciplined about retraining the way I thought, specifically about myself as a basketball player, than I had ever been on working on any of my physical skills. And I was always a very hard worker. I was always the hardest worker on every team I played on. I practiced a lot. But I can honestly say that I had to work harder on changing the way I thought than I ever had on any of my physical skills. And so a couple of the things that I did when I came home that summer was, once I figured that out, was I came back to my hometown that summer, and at night I would go play pickup games at my high school with a bunch of local guys that lived in my town. And I'd play for 2 or 3 hours, and when I would come home, I would make myself, for that whole summer, I would make myself write down 10 good things that I did in the gym that night. And I can tell you, at that point in my career, it was dang near impossible for me to come up with 10 things when I first started doing it. I would go to the gym and I'd play pickup for 2 or 3 hours straight, and I'd come home and I'd get out that piece of notebook paper and I'd start to make my list, and I'd get about 2 or 3 things on my list, and I would just get stuck. And I would say, man, that's it. I didn't do anything else good tonight. I was terrible. But I would make myself come up with something, anything. And at first, I was reaching for straws. At first, I was writing down things like, my shoes didn't come untied one time tonight. That was a good thing. That's positive. Or my shorts were really matching my shirt tonight. That's a good thing. I'd write that down. Anything. I didn't get into an accident in my car on the way home from the gym tonight. Anything that was positive, I would make myself put it on that list. And what started to happen was, because I very diligently made myself do that, by about the 4th or 5th time when I sat down to make that list, I was getting tired of writing about my shoelaces and my outfits and my car. I wanted to write about basketball stuff. So I would go to the gym, and when I walked in the door, I was already thinking about that list, thinking, I got that stupid list I got to do tonight. I'm going to pay attention because I don't want to write about my shoelaces tonight. I want to write about stuff that happens in here. So I would pay attention. So maybe at some point in the game, I'd make a decent pass. So I'd say to myself, okay, got to remember that pass, got to remember that pass. And maybe a few minutes later, I'd hit a shot. I might hit a layup. So I think, okay, got to remember that layup. Good shot, good layup. Good shot, good layup. Because I wanted to try to remember 10 things. So as soon as I got home, as quick as I could, I'd get out that sheet so I wouldn't forget those things. And it was still hard. I was still having to make stuff up. But what I noticed was after a few days, the list started getting easier and easier. And it wasn't because I was playing better. It wasn't because I was doing more good things, at least not at first. But what was happening was where I was putting my attention had started to change a little bit, because I knew I had to make the stupid list. So I knew I had to try to remember some good stuff that happened. And then what started to happen is, as I started to put my attention on those things when I was in the gym, more of those things did start to happen. Energy flows where attention goes. And so the list got easier and easier. And so that was a big step for me in starting to retrain the way I thought, my habits of thought, and where I was placing my attention.